Welcome to my dad's bedtime stories. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite stories of all time. Mama's Still Here. Are you ready? Okay. Maybe it used to be great, but it wasn't so great now. Maybe it used to not be so worrisome. There was a lot to worry about now. Jake lived with his dad, and Mama lived with Jesus in heaven. Every day after work, Jake's dad would come and pick him up, and they would walk home together. They didn't have enough money for the bus. Jake's dad didn't know how to cook a lot of things, but there wasn't a lot of food to cook anyway. One night, Jake's dad said an old friend had asked him if he could write a children's story like he used to. He would pay him a bunch of money for a good story. Jake said, "Dad, if you sell a story, can you buy me the red and white basketball shoes like I've always wanted?" "Sure thing, son." Later that night, they tried to think of a story to sell to the man. How about a princess who runs away from home and marries an ugly monster? "Nah," said Jake's dad. "There's too many princess stories." "What about a ball that bounces away from a boy and bounces down the hill and sees the world?" "Nah," says Jake. "Sounds too bouncy." They tried to think of a story that was worth some money, but they were all so boring and predictable. We need something real, something different, something exciting. Now you're talking. "I got it, Dad." "What is it?" "Tell my story. Tell how we keep Mama here even though she's gone." "What do you mean?" "Well, you know how I sleep with the llama, that stuffed animal, even though I am getting too big for it?" Yeah, because Mama gave it to me when I had a fever." "Uh-huh. And how you sometimes sing the song she told us about climbing the mountain and finding the sun?" "Mm-hmm. And almost every night we talk about a memory of Mama so that we won't forget her. That's why we do those things." "I love that. What will we call the book?" his dad said. "Mama's Still Here," Jake said. They were so excited. They stayed up late writing as much of the story as they could. And Jake worked on drawing the pictures for the book. The next day, Jake's dad got dressed up to go to the coffee shop and meet the man. "Don't be nervous, Dad. It's going to be okay." Jake waited on the back porch and kicked at the concrete with his old tennis shoes. Finally, he saw his dad come around the fence, and he looked sad. "What's wrong?" He didn't like the book. "He didn't like the book? Why not?" "He said he wanted to have some more action and maybe some fighting scenes or even a monster or two." "It doesn't even matter." What do you mean it doesn't even matter?" "We'll make the book without him," Jake said. How are we going to make this story into a book?" asked his dad. "I don't know," Jake said. Jake's dad thought and thought. "You know, there's a guy, an old man, that used to be my friend. He has a shop down in the corner. Maybe we could ask him. He makes stories into books." So as soon as they could, they met with the old man to find out how much it would cost. "Here's how much it's going to be to make 1,000 books," the old man said. "Ouch," Jake's dad said. "How much would it be just to make 100 books?" "Well, we don't usually do just 100 books, but here's the cost for 100 books." I wonder, how much would it be just for 10 books? Jake's dad asked. 10 books! I never knew so few. But since you're an old friend, here's how much it costs, said the old man. Now this is a story for kids like Jake who have lost their mother. What would it cost to make just one book? One book! What you gonna do with one book? The old man laughed. Ha! But since it means so much to you, here's how much it costs to make one book. And he wrote the price down on a piece of paper. Jake and his dad went home and put that paper on the table. How are we going to get that much money? Asked Jake's dad. Jake said, you know Mrs. McGillicuddy who lives on the corner? She said that she would give me a couple of dollars if I'd paint her front porch steps. His dad said, yeah, and you know when we walk home, I see cans and bottles. I guess I could pick those up and make some money from them. Jake went around to the neighbors and told them his dad was making a story into a book for kids that had lost their mama. Almost everyone had a job for him to do. He swept off some porches. He cleaned out some alleys. He mowed a few yards and even dusted an entire house. Jake's dad told his boss about the story and asked if there was any extra work he could do. He said, well, you could take home some papers and work on them, and if you do that, we could pay you some extra money. Jake and his dad put every quarter and dime and dollar into a little drawer until it was so full they knew they had enough money. They took it all out and brought it to the old man in the corner. Are you sure you want to do this? The old man asked. We're ready, said Jake and his dad. One morning, the book came in the mail. Jake and his dad were so excited. Now what are we going to do? Jake's dad asked. Come to my school tomorrow during story hour and when you have your lunch break and read it to the kids, Jake said. Jake's dad did read it to the kids and the kids loved it and the teacher cried. Later that night, the teacher called and said the school wanted to order 10 copies of the book. So they called the old man and got 10 more copies. Then the folks who have the book reading club, they meet down by the old library. Sometimes they have a time where you can come and read your favorite book. And Jake's dad went and read the book to them. The book club people loved it and ordered 15 copies. News of the book spread throughout the community, into the big city, and then across the country. Jake's dad did buy him the red and white basketball shoes and a basketball net. Late at night, Jake climbed into bed with his llama, even though he was getting too big for it. And they talked about the time that the three of them were in the kitchen and Mom was making grilled cheese sandwiches and they were playing with the water like it was pretend rain sprinkling on each other. And she forgot about the grilled cheese and they caught on fire. She had to take some of her water and sprinkle on the grilled cheese, put the fire out. They still ate the sandwiches and they tasted pretty good. Good night.